Listen slowly, speak confidently. Hello, my friend, and welcome to English Stories Podcast. I'm really glad you are here today. Before we begin, take a slow breath with me and let your shoulders relax. You are safe here. This is not a classroom. There is no test, no pressure, and no one judging your English. English Stories is a podcast created for people just like you. People who want to learn English, but want to learn it calmly, naturally, and with confidence. Here, we don't rush. We don't shout rules. We don't make you feel small. We walk together slowly, step by step. If you have ever felt tired, confused, or discouraged while learning English, this podcast is for you. Maybe you listen to English every day, but you still don't understand much. You hear the sounds, but they disappear too quickly. Maybe you know many words and basic grammar, but when it's time to speak, your mind goes empty and your voice feels stuck. You want to speak, but nothing comes out. If this is your story, I want you to hear this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not bad at English. You are not lazy. You are not slow. And you are definitely not alone. Many learners around the world feel the same way, even if they never talk about it. The real problem is not you. The problem is the speed. English is often taught too fast, with too much pressure, and too many expectations. When English moves too quickly, your brain cannot catch the sounds. When your brain cannot catch the sounds, your mouth cannot follow. And when your mouth cannot follow, confidence slowly disappears. English Stories Podcast was created to change that experience. Here, we slow English down. We focus on slow listening, simple words, and gentle repetition. We use shadowing so you can listen and speak along naturally, without fear. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need to speak fast. What you need is time, patience, and a safe place to practice. Confidence does not come from speed. Confidence comes from clarity. It comes from feeling comfortable with the sounds and rhythm of English. That is why in this podcast, I speak slowly, repeat key ideas, and give you space to breathe and follow along. English Stories is not just about learning English. It's about building belief. It's about reminding you that small steps every day are enough. Just listening is progress. Just trying is progress. Showing up today is progress. If this kind of learning feels right to you, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe to English Stories Podcast so you don't miss future episodes. When you subscribe, you are not just following a channel. You are choosing to walk this journey with support, calm, and consistency. New episodes will help you listen better, speak more naturally, and feel more confident little by little. So if you're ready, stay with me. Listen slowly, speak gently, and trust that confidence will come. Welcome to English Stories Podcast. Many learners believe that speaking English confidently means speaking fast, but this belief quietly destroys confidence instead of building it. When you are a beginner or at an A1 to A2 level, Fast English does not motivate you, it overwhelms you. You listen to native speakers or fast videos, and the words seem to crash into each other. You try to follow, but your brain cannot separate the sounds. You feel lost, confused, and frustrated. After a while, you stop believing in yourself. You think, "My English is bad," or "I will never speak confidently." But the truth is very different. The problem is not your ability. The problem is the speed. When English comes too fast, your ears panic, your brain freezes, and your mouth stays silent. This is not a personal failure. It is a natural reaction. Your brain needs time to process new sounds, new rhythms, and new sentence patterns. That is why slow listening is so powerful, especially for beginners. When English is slow, your ears can finally hear the sounds clearly. You start to notice how words connect, where sentences pause, and how intonation rises and falls. Your brain has enough time to catch meaning instead of fighting confusion. And when your brain feels calm and clear, something beautiful happens. Your mouth becomes braver. You feel less pressure. You feel less fear. You feel more control. Slow listening gives your mouth a chance to copy what your ears understand. This is why shadowing works best at a slow speed. When you hear a sentence slowly, your mouth can follow naturally, without force. You are not translating in your head. You are not searching for grammar rules. You are simply copying sound and rhythm, just like a child does. Think about how children learn to speak. They do not start by talking. They start by listening. They listen to the same sounds again and again. They hear simple sentences every day. Slowly, their brains understand the patterns, and one day words come out naturally. No one tells a child to speak faster. No one says, "You are too slow." We give children time, and that time creates confidence. Adults learning English need the same kindness. Speed does not create confidence. Clarity does. When you understand what you hear, even a little, your confidence grows. When you feel calm while listening, your voice feels safer when speaking. This is the foundation of real confidence. Not speed, not perfection, but clarity. And clarity comes from slow listening. Now let's talk about shadowing in the simplest way possible, because many beginners feel scared when they hear this word. Shadowing sounds technical, but in reality, it is one of the most natural and human ways to learn a language. Shadowing simply means this: you listen, and then you speak along with what you hear. That's it. Nothing more. You are not taking a test. You are not translating every word. You are not trying to be perfect. You are just listening and copying sounds. When you do shadowing, you let your ears lead and your mouth follows. This is why it works so well for A1 and A2 learners. You do not need to understand 100% of what you hear. In fact, you should not try to understand everything. Understanding will come later. Right now, your job is much simpler. Your job is to hear the sounds and repeat them as best as you can. Even if your pronunciation is not clear, even if your accent is strong, even if you miss some words, that is completely okay. Shadowing is not about sounding like a native speaker. It is not about copying a perfect accent. It is about building a connection between your ears and your mouth. Many learners make the mistake of focusing too much on grammar rules and vocabulary lists. They know the rules in their head, but when they try to speak, nothing comes out. That happens because their ears and mouth have never been trained to work together. Shadowing fixes this problem. When you listen and repeat, your mouth learns how English feels, not how it looks on paper. Your tongue learns new movements. Your mouth learns new rhythms. Your brain learns the music of English. And this learning happens naturally, without stress. You do not need to stop the audio every sentence. You do not need to write anything down. You do not need to think. Just listen and repeat. If you miss a word, keep going. If you feel slow, that is normal. Shadowing is not a performance. It is practice. Think of it like learning to sing a song. The first time you hear a song, you cannot sing it well. You listen many times. You hum. You sing along quietly. Slowly, the song becomes familiar. Your mouth remembers the melody without effort. Language works the same way. Shadowing helps English become familiar. It removes fear. It builds muscle memory. And most importantly, it builds confidence. Because when your mouth gets used to moving in English, speaking no longer feels scary. It feels possible. Remember this one sentence as you practice shadowing. You are not training your grammar, and you are not training your intelligence. You are training your ears and your mouth. When your ears and mouth are trained, grammar and confidence will follow naturally. Many learners ask the same painful question again and again. Why do I listen to English so much, but I still can't speak? If you have ever felt this way, I want you to know that this frustration is very common, and it does not mean you are failing. In fact, it usually comes from 3 simple reasons. The first reason is speed. You listen to English that is too fast for your level. When the speed is too high, your brain spends all its energy trying to catch sounds, so there is no energy left to speak. You may recognize words, but you cannot use them. The second reason is fear. Many learners are afraid of making mistakes, so they choose silence. They think, if I don't speak, I won't be wrong. But silence feels safe only for a moment. Over time, it becomes a cage. The more you stay silent, the harder speaking feels. The third reason is perfection. You want to speak correctly, clearly, and confidently from the beginning. You wait until your grammar is perfect or your pronunciation is good enough. But that moment never comes, because perfection is not how language is learned. Here is the truth that changes everything. Speaking wrong does not mean you are bad at English. Speaking wrong means you are learning in the right way. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They are signs of movement. When you make mistakes, your brain is actively working. When you stay silent, nothing is being trained. Listening alone is not enough to build speaking confidence. Listening prepares you, but speaking activates what you have learned. This is why shadowing and speaking out loud are so important. They break the silence. They teach your mouth to move and your voice to come out, even if it is not perfect. Remember this one powerful idea and keep it close to your heart. Silence doesn't mean you're learning. Speaking does. Now let's move from ideas to action and talk about how to practice slow listening the right way, especially if you are a beginner. This part is important because many learners listen every day but do not see results, not because they are lazy, but because they do not follow a clear and gentle process. Slow listening works best when it is simple, short, and repeated. You do not need long study sessions. You do not need to understand everything. You only need a few focused minutes and the right steps. The first step is listening without speaking. This may sound too easy, but it is essential. In this step, your only job is to listen. Do not repeat. Do not pause the audio. Do not translate in your head. Just listen and let the sounds flow into your ears. This helps your ears become familiar with the rhythm, pronunciation, and melody of English. At first, you may not understand much, and that is okay. Understanding is not the goal yet. Familiarity is. When your ears feel relaxed and comfortable, your brain becomes calmer. This is how learning begins. The second step is listening and speaking together, also called shadowing. Now you listen and try to speak at the same time or just a little after the speaker. You do not need to be loud. You do not need to be clear. You do not need to be perfect. Just move your mouth and let the sounds come out. If you miss words, keep going. If you feel slow, stay slow. This step trains the connection between your ears and your mouth. Your mouth learns how English feels, not how it looks. This is where speaking starts to feel natural instead of scary. The third step is listening again and speaking a little louder. Now the sounds are more familiar. Your ears recognize them. Your mouth has already tried to copy them. In this step, you speak with a bit more confidence. Not fast, not perfect, just clearer and stronger than before. You may be surprised to feel that speaking is easier now. This is because repetition builds comfort, and comfort builds confidence. Each practice session should be short. 3 to 5 minutes is enough. Short practice is powerful because it is easy to repeat every day. Do not speed up the audio. Do not force yourself to speak when you are tired. Do not turn learning into pressure. If your mind feels heavy, stop and come back later. Learning English is not about pushing harder. It is about returning again and again. Remember this simple truth as you practice. Slow plus repeat creates natural speaking. Many learners believe that confidence in speaking English comes from knowing more words or mastering grammar rules. But this belief often creates more fear instead of confidence. You can memorize thousands of words and study grammar for years, yet still feel nervous when you open your mouth. That is because real confidence does not live in your notebook. It lives in your body. It lives in your ears, your mouth, and your voice. Confidence begins when English starts to feel familiar, not when it becomes perfect. When you are used to the sounds of English, your brain stays calm. When you are used to the rhythm of sentences, your mouth moves more easily. And when you are used to hearing your own voice in English, fear slowly disappears. The first step to building confidence is getting used to the sound of English. When you listen slowly and often, English stops feeling foreign. The sounds no longer surprise you. Your ears recognize patterns, and your brain feels safer. The second step is getting used to sentence rhythm. English has a natural flow with pauses and stress. When you practice shadowing, your mouth learns this rhythm without thinking. You stop translating word by word, and speaking feels smoother. The third and most important step is getting used to your own voice. Many learners avoid speaking because they feel embarrassed by how they sound. But the more you avoid your voice, the scarier it becomes. The solution is simple. Speak more, but in safe, private moments. You can speak English alone in your room, where no one can hear you. You can speak while walking, cooking, or washing dishes. You can repeat short sentences from a podcast, or talk to yourself about your day. These small moments train your voice to exist in English. Over time, your voice feels normal, not scary. This is how confidence grows, quietly, naturally, and without pressure. There will be days when you feel tired, bored, or completely unmotivated to learn English. And I want to say this clearly. That feeling is normal. It does not mean you are weak, and it does not mean you are failing. Learning a language takes time, and your energy will not always be the same. Some days you feel excited, and some days you feel heavy. That is part of the journey. Many learners quit not because English is too hard, but because they believe they must feel motivated every day. That belief creates pressure, and pressure leads to burnout. When you feel tired, the solution is not to push harder. The solution is to do less. Instead of studying for 30 minutes, study for 3. Instead of finishing a full lesson, listen to one short sentence. Even 1 minute of English is enough to keep the habit alive. 1 minute tells your brain, "I didn't quit today." And that message is powerful. When learning feels light, it becomes easier to return tomorrow. Motivation comes and goes, but consistency is what builds real progress. You do not need to feel inspired. You just need to show up, even in a very small way. Think of English like walking a long road. If you stop completely, it becomes hard to start again. But if you keep taking small steps, even slow ones, you will move forward. Some days you walk fast. Some days you take only one step. Both are okay. What matters is that you keep moving. Remember this when you feel like giving up. Consistency is more important than motivation. As you continue learning English, it is very easy to feel unsure about your progress. Many learners work hard every day, but still ask themselves the same question. Am I really improving? The problem is not that progress is missing. The problem is that progress is often quiet. It does not arrive with loud signs or big celebrations. It comes softly, in small moments that are easy to ignore if you are not looking for them. One clear sign of progress is that English starts to sound more familiar. When you listen, your ears feel calmer. The sounds no longer feel like noise. You may not understand every word, but the rhythm feels normal. Another sign is that you hesitate less when you speak. You may still pause, but the pauses feel shorter. Words come out more easily than before. You also begin to understand sentences without translating them into your first language. Meaning appears naturally without effort. And perhaps the most important sign of all is courage. You are more willing to open your mouth. You are less afraid to try. Even if your English is not perfect, you feel braver than you were before. These changes may feel small, but they are powerful. They mean your brain is adapting. They mean your ears, your mouth, and your confidence are growing together. Always remember this truth and repeat it to yourself when you feel unsure. Progress is quiet, but it is real. Now let's talk about mindset, because the way you think about learning English can either support you or slowly push you away from your goal. Many learners treat English like a competition. They compare themselves to others. They watch people speak fluently and think, "I am so far behind." But language learning is not a race. There is no finish line that everyone reaches at the same time. Each person has a different background, a different schedule, and a different pace. Comparing yourself to others only steals your joy and weakens your motivation. The only comparison that matters is between who you were before and who you are now. Even one small improvement is worth respecting. At English Stories Podcast, we believe that pressure destroys progress. That is why our philosophy is simple and clear. No pressure, just progress. You do not need to rush. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to continue. When learning feels calm and supportive, it becomes sustainable. And when it becomes sustainable, real change happens over time. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to take a moment to recognize you. If you are listening right now, it means you showed up. You gave your time and your attention to yourself and to your future. That matters more than you realize. You are not slow. You are not behind. You are learning in a way that respects your brain and your confidence. You are building a foundation that will support you for a long time. Keep listening slowly. Keep speaking gently. Even a few minutes a day is enough if you return again and again. If English Stories Podcast helps you feel calmer, more confident, or less alone on your learning journey, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. Each episode is designed to help you listen better, speak more naturally, and believe in yourself a little more every day. Listen daily if you can. Speak along whenever you feel ready, and walk this path with us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting the process. And remember this as you move forward. Listen slowly, and one day you will speak confidently.